In other global news, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, who is in the Philippines, has met with the Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. During the meet, Harris reaffirmed United States' unwavering commitment to the Philippines and said that a visit was aimed at countering China and rebuilding ties with the Southeast Asian nation. The U.S. Vice President said that Washington stands with Manila in defense of the international rules and norms as it related to the South China Sea. Not only this, Harris also asserted on how an attack on the Philippine armed forces, public vessels or aircraft in the South China Sea would invoke the U.S. mutual defense commitment, in which America is allowed to maintain a military presence but not a permanent one. Meanwhile, the Philippines President Marcos Jr. also said that he does not see a future that does not include the United States of America. Harris's three-day visit to the Philippines also includes a stop on the islands of Palawan, which is situated on the edge of the South China Sea. The U.S. Vice President will reiterate Washington's support for a 2016 International Tribunal ruling, which dismissed Beijing's expansive claim in the disputed water. China had earlier claimed some territories in the waters of Palawan and much of the South China Sea. But a 2016 ruling by tribunal in Hague declared that the Chinese claims had no legal basis. Meanwhile, the Philippine Navy has also accused the Chinese Coast Guard of forcefully seizing a floating object. The object was captured by the Philippines troops and was recovered in the disputed South China Sea.
来到北京展览馆，走进展厅，参观展览，展示我国科技水平。
And shifting focus to Manila, where the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris is holding an address. Listen.
Where there are violations of human rights, that means seeing some of the worst of human behaviors. That means understanding and seeing what suffering looks like, what pain looks like, what unfairness looks like. And for someone and anyone who has a level of empathy and understanding about that, it requires a great level of endurance to stick with it. If you care about it and you understand what it means. So I start by saying, remember, you are not alone, and it matters. And then we have to also talk about it in the context of understanding. We talked about, for example, the universality of human rights. Human rights are not, they are rights. You know, in the United States we talk about inalienable rights, God-given rights. And I think it's important to start from a perspective of knowing, not just believing, but knowing. You're born with rights. You're born with these rights. You're not asking someone to do you the favor through the benevolence of their existence to grant you these rights. They are your rights, God-given. And I think it's always important to remember that in the fight for human rights. And then to remember, therefore, there is a universality about those rights. So we will not measure the rights that people have, the human rights, based on cultures or nations, but based on universal principles. The universal principles that should be grounded in an understanding of equality, and grounded in an understanding of the freedom individuals should be able to have as a right to exercise certain decisions for themselves about their lives. As a general matter, that's how I see it.
Thank you very much. Now, our next question comes from an audience member, Pamela Mejia, and she said, I am a fashion social entrepreneur. There is gender bias and inequality for women entrepreneurs. How do you think that we can increase the equity and the opportunity for women?
Well, one of the issues for women around the globe, and in particular entrepreneurs, but women around the globe, is access to capital. And that is one of the ways that we must be very targeted in our approach to measure and assess whether women have equal opportunity to have access to capital to start a business, for example. equal access to banking systems, equal access to financial literacy. All of those things that are absolutely critical to being able to then have a good idea, have a vision, have a dream, and then through hard work implement it and get it going in a way that invariably will benefit their family, their community, and all of society will benefit. You know,
And that was U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, who's currently in Manila, and she was talking about women empowerment and human rights. She is in the Philippines to strengthen Washington's ties with Manila. She will be visiting the Palawan Islands tomorrow.